Well, good morning, and we are back to the Michigan Minority Procurement Conference 2018 Michigan Design Series podcast. We're having this morning. We're having a great time interviewing guests and hosts, and just really having a great experience here at the MMPC 2018 experience. So I am honored today actually to have our CPO of Dte Energy, Tomczak, join us. Wait, I said it wrong. No, we
You're
went.
fine. Tomczak.
Tomczak, join us this morning to actually have a great conversation about DTE, the participation with MMSDC as a whole, and what they're doing this year with MMSDC. So let me just open up by saying, hi, Tony.
Hi, Katrina. How are you?
I'm good, and welcome to the Michigan Design Series podcast. This is a podcast designed where we have a little bit more casual conversations.
Okay.
We talk to you about what you typically probably wouldn't say, necessarily on the stage at the ribbon cutting, and hear really your voice about what's happening within your organization. So number one, tell us about you and exactly what you do at DTE.
So I've been with DTE for about 12 years now.
Okay.
I have two really big duties. One is the Chief Procurement Officer.
Okay.
So I lead a team of people that buy everything from tree trimming services and temporary labor to uranium for our nuclear power plant. So a whole different array of things. I'm also the Executive Director of Corporate Services.
Okay.
And so we're charged, I have a group that works on supply chain,
Okay.
facilities, so all of our real estate and buildings, and then our fleet, so all of our trucks and garages and everything that makes our company roll. So that's the two big things. And Dte Energy is a utility company. Most of us get a bill, whether it's for electricity or gas or both.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. So
Routinely, without fail.
we are the only company in the city here that we can look out as far as you can see, and everybody's our customer. Nobody can say that.
Oh,
So,
wow. Now, that is quite significant.
yes.
When you put things in perspective, I think that is one of the greatest things when you work within MMSDC, the opportunities you have to work with corporations and smaller companies, but you understand the impact and scale.
Yes.
So I just had a moment with DTE because you're right. Everybody is your customer,
Yes.
business or residential.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about, this is a really huge one because MMSDC and DTE's partnership is a first-time non-automotive executive as chair of the council.
Yes.
So explain to us how that actually came about and what that means on the DTE side of things.
Yeah, so it's been something that I've thought about and worked at for quite a long time in regards to understanding, MMSDC and what we can do and what we do as an organization, but also, how can, in my position within a major corporation here in the city, help to leverage the work that my group does and that I do to being a force for growth, being a company that can be an engine of progress, can help to take the opportunities that we have and the responsibility we have for everybody around us to leverage that and to be something good. Whether that's business opportunity, jobs, whatever it may be. So Detroit is a very diverse city. Our whole state
Yes.
is very diverse.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we emulate, what our customers and what our city around us is looking for? How can we do that with our supply base? And so MMSDC fits right into that in regards to the goals that DTE has, the goals that my team has, and so it was a perfect fit. It also was one where you're correct. Automotives have been the chair at the lead of
For
MMSDC
40 years,
for
and that
40 years.
yeah, that's pretty significant. So year 41,
yeah,
the
that's right.
tide has changed.
That's right. So how it took a long time to show what we could do as a corporation and as a team in regards to our minority supplier base and practices and things that we do, and then it was how can we lead?
Okay.
So 10 years ago, we started to show how we could lead. And it took time to build up into that. And I had a stint on the board, and we were ready to actually take the mantle in 2011-ish.
Oh, really?
But then my position changed.
Oh, okay.
And so it was, no, DT, just wait.
Okay.
And then it kind of had to come back around. And then my position changed back to what it is today. And it was a great opportunity to get re-engaged and show leadership. So again, I think everything MMSDC does and DTE really coincides, especially around our work with diversity suppliers.
So one of the conversations that actually came about yesterday during the, I think it was the afternoon panel in reference to millennials and small businesses really new to this arena, wanting to participate with large corporations. In their mind, they come in and say, yes, I can take a $30 million contract. You're like, no, you're not. And that's not how it goes.
That's right.
So two things. Number one, what are some of your suggestions or pointers for new MBEs, let's just say, anywhere from, let's say, at least 2 years, 2 to even 10 years old, because again, you're dealing with every customer looking around, in Detroit, Michigan, or, just being able to touch so many people. So what should they know? And also, what are some of the growth areas that are available for MBEs? Because that was the other point. Don't walk up and think their services are going to fit every corporation or every business. It's not. Everything has a season.
You're actually answering for me in a way. So the biggest thing for any MBE is really, if you have a targeted customer, potential customer that you want to go for, really try to understand their business and what it is that they do. So, if you compare DTE to Ford, right? Ford builds cars, they use a lot of steel, they have components, things like that. DTE is mostly services is what we buy. So things like, we buy a lot of construction services. We're either building buildings or we're improving our system, our electrical system.
Oh, wow, okay.
And we're also, we just went through an ice storm, had significant amount of customers out.
Yes.
The biggest reason for that was ice would weigh and form on the branches of trees. We have a wonderful state, it's very green, right? But those trees get in the way and fall onto power lines, which shuts off power to our customers. So we buy a lot of tree trimming services.
Wow.
So it's like you have to really get deeper into what a potential customer does and what they buy and see if there's a good match. Then it's, are you ready, right? And are you ready, and then are they ready for you? You really need to understand where are they at with their contracts? Where are they at with the cycle? When are they going to be bidding? Have you made a relationship with the buyer?
Have you made a relationship with the buyer?
Exactly. It's all those pieces, and are they really looking for somebody diverse, women-owned or minority-owned? And if that is what's happening, you then need to be ready when that RFP comes out. So I always say it's persistence.
Yes.
Keep yourself in front of the buyer, keep yourself in front of the right people within the company, and then it's patience, right? Because you have to wait. You have to see when that cycle comes around. And I see a lot of companies putting an effort in, and then they fade away, and then they just don't come back again, and they miss that cycle. And so you have to be persistent, keep plotting, and then patient to be able to wait it out, but being ready. You have to be ready.
I think that's probably one of the greatest tips that you actually could have recommended, is understanding that it is a cycle first and foremost, just like anything else, but understanding that that moment, just because they didn't respond to you the way that they felt that they should, that is the end of the world. What are some of the organizations or outside connections that maybe you all have that can allow you to stay connected to DTE and not just the traditional, like, I'm hounding you, I'm here.
So MMSDC is one of those fantastic organizations that's, if you look around us, it's all about that. Making those connections, making sure you have that touch point in a very formal way, right? It's here, but you can do it informally too. The business chambers, right? So the ethnic chambers, we have great relationships with APAC, the Asian Pacific Chamber, with Michigan Hispanic Chamber, the Black Chamber. There's all different business chambers. Be active, offer leadership, but also make sure you make connections there. DTE has its own events, right? We work through the Michigan Economic Development Corporation to put on events, MMSDC. So we have our own connection events where we have big business opportunities. We're looking for suppliers to come join us, but we also invite our tier 1 suppliers.
And that is a huge, huge part. I think,
That's right.
again, it came up yesterday that oftentimes people think that they can just go directly to DTE, and no, there's layers and processes. So tell us about some of your tier one suppliers and how MBEs or other people should connect with them.
We talk about, with all of our major tier one suppliers, about emulation. So we have this priority, this purpose about it being a force for growth.
Okay.
And we want our major suppliers to do the same, which means we see diversity suppliers, minority suppliers as being very important to our business.
Okay.
We want them to also. So when we have these events, we invite them also. Because sometimes it's not a best fit to be doing the business directly with us. Maybe you can connect with one of our major tier ones and form business that way. And it's worked, right? We've gone from in the low, single-digit percentages to having 20% of our buy with diversity companies.
Oh,
so
wow.
Close to $500 million with diversity companies. And that's not just by saying, oh, here we are. It's about outreach, it's about engagement, it's about engaging our tier ones, it's about all different little cool practices that we put in place.
Oh, that's cool. Well, you've definitely given us a lot about DTE and how you should connect and the value of MMSDC working with DTE. So let's switch over a little bit and let's talk a little bit on the other side of just getting to know Tony.
Sure.
The design series, as we mentioned, is a podcast designed to understand the other components of business, the personal side that allows everyone to connect. So Tony, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I grew up just outside Chicago.
Oh.
So my parents are still back in the suburbs of Chicago. My brother and sister are also. Went to work. I went to Purdue University. I'm an industrial engineer.
Oh, okay. Engineer by trade.
That's right.
Okay.
So I kind of, my first job, I was doing typical industrial engineering work.
Okay.
Time studies, plant layout. But I really wanted to work outward a lot more. So the buyer type role really appealed to me, and I got into that world. So it's more supply chain focused most of my career. Lived on the East Coast outside of Philadelphia for a while. But then came here to Detroit because I wanted to be near automotive and I wanted to get engaged. And so I worked for Federal Mogul for 7 years.
Okay.
Left there as director of supply chain for the Americas. Went to Tower Automotive, another tier one automotive company.
Yeah, I remember.
And was there for 5 years. And then right after that, in 2006, I joined DTE in a supply chain role. And from there it was more, along the way, I got a master's in industrial operations at Lawrence Tech.
Okay.
So, but my children were born here.
Okay.
My family's here. But at DTE is where I'm going to be for the rest of my career. I really love the company.
So what would you tell your 20-year-old self? You've definitely had a wonderful career, worked with large corporations, gained a ton of experience, seen the world probably because of the opportunities that you've had working with these corporations. And I think in this age now where entrepreneurship, of course, is now encouraged. Even if you say that you're a consultant, you're not looked at as if you're crazy. Because I remember those days, you would say you're a consultant, it's like, well, what do you really do? And just the tone of business as a whole has changed. And you being on the career path of course, the corporate side, but you have to have entrepreneur, skill sets and the same type of makeup to be driven. So what would you tell someone who possibly wanted your, career path?
Yes.
So 20-year-old Tony at Purdue. What does he need to know?
Yeah. No, I think it's, you have to gain experience, but it's always wonderful if you find a company that has values that are similar to yours and that can allow for creativity. I think that's the biggest thing that, as I was traveling through my career, DTE really offered to me, was the opportunity to be creative. Yeah, it's a corporate structure, but we have creative ideas and ways of doing things, and we have the freedom to do it. So that has been really cool. And if you have a lot of creativity, you have to make that decision. Am I getting hooked up in a position with a company that offers that? And if I really can't find that company, maybe I need to strike out on my own and find a way of doing that. Get mentorship, find people that can offer you mentorship or offer you a chance or offer you advice, no matter how big or small it may be, and that is comfortable to go back to them and talk to them about those things. And I found that later in my career. I didn't
Okay.
find it earlier.
The mentorship part?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Because I came from a family that's very blue collar.
Okay.
Dad is a mechanic and heavy equipment operator. My mother's a nurse.
Okay.
So they didn't have a lot of, I didn't have a lot of family or their friends that really were in more corporate. But now with my kids, I'm like, oh, there's so many people I can, if you desire it, you can talk to these folks and they will offer you advice. So if, don't be afraid. Put
Don't
yourself
be
out
afraid.
there. Ask for it. It's okay, because I'm willing to offer it. Many people are. So it's a really cool thing. But that mentorship, I think, is a big thing, because then you can make the right choices and get down the path you really want to get to. Get the higher education too, no matter what you do. I think even as we're starting to change as a country where we don't have enough trades,
Yes.
it's okay to follow the trades route, but keep yourself at the cutting edge of even what that trade has to offer. We have a need for electricians right now. Well, electricians are starting to change from turning wrenches to understanding controls and control systems. You have to be on the cutting edge of understanding how that works. So just keep up with whatever you're going to do, and that's what I would offer.
I think that's a great point. As I look back in my own career, definitely mentorship actually has allowed me to be in this position today, to be the host of the Michigan Minority Supplier Diversity Podcast, which is awesome. But you know what? The company that I really grew up underneath, that's what they did. They allowed me to be me, and it gave me the room to figure out what was my lane. And next thing I know, 5 years later, all of these things have blossomed. So I'm a testament to that one. Not to mention, when you do not have creativity, allowed to be exerted, then innovation will not come through in a company or yourself, and you'll get frustrated. You really will.
We're a firm believer in engagement. If you're not engaged, whether the job is not engaging or the people around you aren't engaging, you're not going to put your best effort into what you're doing. So we're always thinking about that at DTE. We talk about it here at the MMSDC. We want the staff and the people to be engaged. And if they're not, what's going on and what can we do to do that? So.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I thank you so much for taking the time out. I know your schedule is busy. All the chief procurement officers are being run all around today. Many conversations, meetings, and definitely continuing to grow their business and, trying to support other MBEs and corporations and build those partnerships. So I guess we will sign off right now from the MMSDC Design Series podcast with Tony Tomczak, CPO of Dte Energy and also a friend to us. So glad you were able to find some time and hang out with us.
It's really my pleasure.
And you have a great day.
Thanks, you too.